make our yeast rolls today, and I'm gonna have to do this in several parts. This is why I'm doing a video. And Lexi, can you get me an egg out of there, please?
Yes, ma'am.
And you want to put a package of dry yeast, which I think is about 2.5 teaspoons. I might be wrong, so double check that. But just one package of active dry yeast. Thank you. And then you're going to put 1/4 cup of warm water. Like, this is the hottest water I could get out of the tap, okay? And then 4 tablespoons of sugar. This is the recipe I use anyway, okay? And Lexi and I are going to use some different recipes and see which we like best. But we tried this one last week and
it was really good.
It was a winner, yeah. So these things help activate the rolls. The warm water, really warm water. Your package of dry yeast and your 4 tablespoons of sugar, okay? And you're just gonna make sure, like I'm just gonna stick my finger on that, and that we're gonna let that rest for just a minute. And that water's already cooled down, and we're gonna let that rest for 5 minutes, okay? And we're gonna let that activate. I just kind of stir mine together a little bit. That might be wrong. I don't know. Okay. We're going to let the yeast activate. So I'm going to set this to the side. I've got some hot milk over here that I'm letting just heat up because I have the microwave busy. And to that milk, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of butter. And I'm just going to let that melt on the stove really quick. So we're going old school here. We're actually using the stove to heat things up. Hang on a sec. But to activate the yeast means that it's actually going to get the yeast to bloom, which means the yeast is going to spread out. Is the best way I know to put it. It actually grows. That would be the way. Yeah, it grows. Okay. And I'm not an expert on rolls. I just tried them myself for the first time, and I was like, gosh, that's not too hard. I could probably teach them how to do this. Okay. Now I'm going to take and I'm going to use this cup. And I'm going to beat up this egg, 1 egg. And it's really loud. Yeah, it's loud in here because I've got the microwave on right now. So I'm going to beat up this egg. So far I've used a package of dry yeast, 1/4 cup warm water, and 4 tablespoons of sugar, and I have it sitting in here. Then I've got, and I don't know if you should mix it or not. I think you can just put it in there and it's okay. I've got 3/4 cup hot milk and 3 tablespoons of butter melting together. Then I've got 1 egg beat, and I'm going to put 1 1/4 teaspoons of salt in that. Okay, so 1 1/4 teaspoons of salt. That's 1. I'm going to say that's about 1/4. It's going to do better if you measure it exactly. Y'all know me. Okay? So I'm going to combine that. Okay, I'm going to let that sit. I've got my warm milk over here. And when you do this milk, make sure that it's hot, okay? Hot. I'm going to take the hot milk and with the 3 tablespoons of butter and pour it into this dish. Now, when you mix this, the thing I'm about to show you, do not put this egg straight into this hot milk. You will cook the egg. Don't do that. You're going to temper it a little bit, which means I'm going to just pour a little bit of it in there, and I'm going to mix. I'm going to pour a little bit in there, and I'm going to mix, because you don't want to cook the egg. You want to temper the milk with the egg. Because that milk is hot, and hot liquid will cook an egg. And it's not scalding hot, but it's hot, you know, because this is what's going to make your dough rise. Okay, we're just going to let this yeast sit for a few more minutes, and I'm going to get out the next ingredients that I'm going to use. If you don't have one of these Danish dough whisks, they are worth the investment. I have one that I am going to give away over Thanksgiving for sharing alive, but they are so great. And this is what I'm going to use to stir the flour together. Okay. So I'm just letting this yeast sit for another minute while I go ahead and get out my flour. I'm using White Lily bread flour. I've heard that Hudson cream flour is good if you're in the Tennessee, Kentucky area. I'm sure there's lots of great bread flours where you are, but this is White Lily bread flour. You don't have to use bread flour. You can use an all-purpose flour, but White Lily bread flour is finely milled, okay? Now, you're going to add 2 to 3 cups to make this a sticky dough, okay? So I'm going to start with here. I'm going to start with about 2 cups. Hey, Dave, you can come say hey. Hey. We're not live. We're just videoing. You have to come over here. They can't see. Dave's in the house.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
There's Dave.
We're making the yeast rolls you like.
Oh, that is great.
Yeah, so if you will notice, this yeast is now bubbling a little bit. Let me see if I can get that up there. You see how it's starting to bloom. Okay. So we're going to add to the yeast, we're going to add this mixture that we just made. And I'm going to pour this mixture into the yeast mixture. Now, again, I'm not a professional bread maker. It just worked for me, so I'm going to show you what I did. Okay. I'm a professional Southern food cook. And these are Southern, but my mama never cooked them. Neither did my grandmothers. They always were biscuit makers. So this is new to us, but Lexi and I truly love it. And Dave liked it too. He really did. Okay, so I'm going to start with, it says you're going to need 2 to 3 cups. And that's because you're going to add some flour in when you start kneading it. So I want you to do it a little at the time, because it's going to, the amount of humidity where you are is going to make a difference. If your house is warm or cold. If your house is cold, like I typically keep our home cold, and Lexi and Dave are both nodding their head yes right now, because I'm so hot-natured. So, but today, the first time I made it, it didn't rise quite as much, and I know it was because the house was too cold. So I did pick the temperature up a little bit to warm the house up some, a little bit. But I'm going to take about 1.5. Lexi said not much. I mean, I'd keep it on 65 degrees if I could, but they're not having it. So I'm going to start pouring this into the flour, and you're going to want kind of a sticky dough. So once I see it start to get sticky, this dough thing is so great because see it just, I don't know if you can see that. It just moves the flour without beating it up. Now you can use, I wouldn't suggest a whisk. You could use a spoon. You could, if you've got a KitchenAid mixer with one of those dough hooks, you could use that. You could even use a wooden spatula. Okay, now it still has too much liquid, so I'm going to add in some more flour. Because you can add flour, but you can't take it away. Let me get the rest of this. Lexi, grab me a spatula out of that top. I had a little bit of, to the left. Yeah. I noticed I had a little bit of this sugar mixture in the bottom, and you want to just make sure you get all that out of your bowl. Okay. Oops. Okay, now I'm going to show you how this is starting to come together. Let me turn this light down some, see if this will help. I'm noticing, see how, yeah, that's much better. See how that's starting to come together? Okay. And yeast rolls are different than biscuits. Yeast rolls, you actually work the dough. Biscuits, you don't. It's still a little too wet, okay? So I'm going to get another maybe 1/4 cup, and I'm just going to sprinkle some over that because I don't want to add too much. I just want it like sticky where it would kind of pull away. It's getting there. See how it's starting to pull away from the edges? Add a little more flour. Okay, still a little sticky, but getting there. Got to do it a little at a time. I'll get that. Okay. Okay, you can see now, see how it's starting to form a dough ball? A dough ball. Did I say that right? Yeah. I was thinking dough ball. You see that? Okay, that's how we know it's about to get just right. And that's sticky. Okay, now, we'll add just a touch more flour, just a touch, because I want it to just pull away a little more than that. Okay, so I've got a nice sticky ball right now. Okay, and what I'm going to do is wipe my hands. And we're going to take and put some plastic wrap just over the top of the bowl. You don't want to do it where it can't breathe, okay? And then I'm going to take a tea towel and put over the bowl. And then you're going to sit it to the side. And it's going to take about, it could take 30 to 90 minutes, no, an hour, 60 to 90 minutes to rise. It should double in size. Once that's doubled in size, I'll be back, show you how to punch it down, knead it, and then we're going to let it rise again. This is what takes the time, is really letting it rise. So I've got it in the bowl. We're going to let it rise, and then we'll be back. Hello again, everyone. I have my large 12-inch cast iron. Now you can use a regular baking pan. You can use whatever pan you want. I'm just using a cast iron. You can use a 9x13, whatever floats your boat for baking bread, okay? And I'm gonna put some Crisco in it. I'm not going to use butter to grease it with because butter can brown on you, but I'm going to use some Crisco. I will put butter on top of the buns, on top of the bread though. Okay, so that's greased. Now, let's look at our dough. Look at this, it's doubled in size. And I literally had it sitting in my laundry room because it's a small room with a vent in it, and I had the heat up in the house so that it would rise well. Now, if you look, let me make sure this is turned down enough. Hold on, maybe it's better that way. Nope, lighting's tough, guys. Okay, if you look, I can kind of, see how I can punch my fingers into it? I'm gonna punch that down now. And put a little flour on it to do it. And then I'm going to just put a little flour on my hands, and I'm just going to punch that down. And I'm just going to, it's like I'm popping the air out of it really, because we're going to let it rise again, okay? After we make the rolls, or after we make the rolls. So here comes the other thing of flour, because I said 2 to 3 cups. Okay, so I'm gonna just put a little more flour in here, and this is where rolls are so much different than biscuits, because we're gonna actually work the dough, where with biscuits we don't. Okay, these will be great for your dinner. I think you can freeze these even. Now, I have not tried it, so I can't tell you about that, but I think you can make them up and freeze them and then bake them. They're not going to keep for a long time. You know, they're not going to keep for a week because you don't have all the preservatives in them. Okay, so I've got that now, and I'm just going to dump that out onto this surface. And actually, I should flour the surface, so hang on a sec. Let me flour this surface a little bit. Okay, now I'm gonna pull this out and put it on there, okay? Now, I'm gonna flour my hands. Move this over. I'm gonna flour my hands, and I'm gonna start kneading this bread. And as I'm kneading it, I'm actually working more flour into it, and it's gonna almost start to spring back on me. If you can feel wet on your hands or wet in the flour, you need to add more flour. See, I have it to the side here, and I'm just using that to push into it. And if you can see this, because of the glutens and stuff, it's pushing back on me, okay? So what we're doing now is we're kind of expanding those, I guess you would say, because it's kind of rubbery, almost like a rubber band. But I really want to work that. And like I said, I'm not a bread maker, so if I'm doing it the wrong way, don't cringe. It will work out just fine, because I've already done it this way before. Here's Lexi. Miss Lexi might be coming in to say hello. But this is the toughest part, is just kneading this for 5 minutes. You gotta knead it and work that dough, because if you don't work your dough, it's not gonna rise again. And see, I can feel some sticky in there. So that tells me I need more flour. And I'm just gonna keep turning it in on itself and rolling it back. Turning it and rolling it. And like I felt it wet on my palms just now, or a little sticky, so more flour. This is a workout. This is a workout. And like I said, I'm sure if you have the KitchenAid thing with the hook, you could do it with that, but I don't have that. And I'm actually one that I don't prefer to use a food processor. Debbie, you need to come in here. You can come in if you want. I'm videoing. Daddy's coming in to get him something to drink probably. But I don't like to use electric appliances any more than I have to, because once you stop doing it, you usually don't go back to it, and then you lose the skill. So you gotta keep those muscles working. Okay, so this is still very sticky, so I'm gonna add some more flour to it. Not very, very sticky, but sticky. That's Daddy's snack cabinet.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of very unhealthy snacks in there too. And I get tempted by them every day.
Daddy's got some snacks now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm continuing to work this. Oh, I got this heat up in this house so that this stuff will rise, and
it's still cold.
No, it's not. I'm like sweating on the back of my neck. I can feel it. Okay. So, I am working this dough. It's still a little sticky.
Can I try? I wash my hands.
Sure. Hold on, let me get you a little more flour.
Okay.
So just work that dough in. Get some flour on your hands. Here you go. And then you're going to have to just work the dough.
Right now, Nana's washing her hands.
These are so good.
Extremely.
I mean, they're so good. While she's doing that, I'm going to put the rest of this butter into this dish and melt it in the microwave, because we're going to use it to top the rolls with.
This really is a workout.
It's a workout. And then I'm going to get in there, girl. Get in there, girl.
I'm trying.
Put some more flour on that, because see how it's sticky there?
Mm-hmm.
You need to put flour on that. Okay. Okay. All right, let's see here what we got. Yep, still sticky, so we've got a little more flour.
And now Lucy's coming in here too.
All right, let me see where we're at. Okay, I think that's good.
Okay.
Okay, now I'm going to show you how we roll them. And you can try rolling one too if you want to, Lexi.
Okay.
Because this is, let me get this where you guys can see really well. It says this will make 18 rolls. I'm going to tell you that all mine were not the same size. You could weigh this, divide it into 18 sections, and have the same amount. But I'm not doing that, okay, in each roll. So you can take your hand and kind of squish it up like this and make a little ball, like the size of a golf ball almost. That might be too big. And you can roll it this way. And you see how if you roll it, with your hand kind of cupped, and you roll it like you would biscuits, if you ever made biscuits by rolling them out. That's one way you can do it. Put it in the bowl. Or you can do it this way. It's a little much. Okay, you can just take it, sit it on your flour board, and roll it around. I think you're still going to have to do that. You're still going to have to roll it in your hand so you can get that pressure from the top of the hand to smooth it. Okay, so this is going to take some practice. So Lexi, you want to try to do one?
So it's...
So, you got flour in your hands?
Yes.
Okay. So you want to have that flour in your hands or on your hands. And squeeze up that little ball about the size of a golf ball. And you have this hand flat and the top hand is rolling. This hand's flat, the top hand is rolling. And if you cup it a little bit, let me turn this down. If you cup it a little bit, it gives you that nice rounded roll. Got one? Let's see what it looks like. All right, you got to work that some more. Look how mine look. You got to roll there. You need a little more dough. Let's start again. Grab you another one. Because see, I've made biscuits for most of my life. So this is, you're seeing Lexi learn to do it. Okay, get you some, okay, there you go. Now, you can do it like this, Lexi, this might help you. Take your fingers on the inside and push in, push in, push in, and turn. And then that makes a little cup on the top, okay? A little cup, and then you roll it. And see, it comes together on the bottom, but you got a nice smooth top. Let's see your top. Yep, show them how that looks. See how that looks? Okay, let's try that again.
Blue.
Okay. And then you kind of look and see, is that kind of the size of the other ones? That's a little small, but it's okay. We're going to go with it. So you know you want a little more dough the next time. Mm-hmm. Again, this is just like you get the feel of it.
She's letting out Lucy right now. So.
Literally, I'm now sweating on top of my lip. I'm telling you. Okay, so I'm going to grab one. Just grabbing off that end there. And I'm going to take the piece, press it, press it, press it, press it. This is the way I learned to roll out biscuits. Then I'm going to take and roll it, and then you get that nice little, see, it looks like that underneath, but that's fine because once it rises, all that's together. And we're going to sit that right there. Yep, looks good. All right, and that's about the right size. You have to get exactly the same size rolls, you're going to have to, let me see that, that's a little bit too small. You're going to have to measure it, but we're not measuring it. We're just going by feel. And once you get the feel, you can kind of do it with no problem, but it's just going to take a little while. So I'm pressing, turning, pressing, turning, pressing, turning. Then I cut my hand, hold it flat, and then boom. There you go. And that one was a little big. You know, they're not much, that's perfect. So we're going to continue doing this, and we're going to leave just a tiny bit of space between them. I'll show you so that they can rise up again. Because they're going to rise again. Like Jesus, they're going to rise again. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to just squeeze off, and I just did this to kind of squeeze off about a golf ball size, a little bit bigger than a golf ball size. And I'm getting used to it now, and I can feel that was too much dough. Still too much dough. Okay, it should just be a little ball in the palm of your hand. And see, we got little pieces to the side. If I feel like it's not enough, I'll just stick one of those pieces in there. We want to get those in there. So we have a pretty pan of them. Make sure you've got flour in your hands. This is going to take practice. Now, if you want, you could take a bread dough loaf pan and just put probably half of this in the pan. This would probably make enough for 2 loaves of bread, I'm guessing, depending on the size of your pan. Okay, see there? This recipe said it was enough for 18 rolls, so we're going to count the rolls when we get finished because we'll know if we've got them too big again. You know, I promise you, be willing to just play with it a little bit, because if you're anything that you're doing from hand, like when I was little, I was practicing all the time, rolling out biscuits, because we didn't cut them, we rolled them out. And that's the same thing we're doing here. We're rolling these out, okay? Give me a little tiny pinch of that. We're going to try to make, let's see me feel these. Okay. All right, now I'm going to take all these leftover pieces and I'm going to have a little roll. I mean, it's just going to be a baby roll. And will it get done before the others? It might, I don't know. But I'm not going to worry about it because it's going to be good regardless.
You both have little baby rolls.
All right, well here, then put this together and let's make a big one, a regular size one. You want to do this one?
No, you can.
Okay. All right, so I'm just going to tuck and turn, tuck and turn, tuck and turn. Okay, so we've got, let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we're a little bit big on our rolls because it said it makes 18 and we've got 15. So that's okay. It's okay, you know, because we're still learning too. So then,
what do I do with this leftover?
Just sit it over in that bowl. It's fine. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing again, and I'm going to put some plastic wrap. If you get one of these big ones at Sam's, it's so good. It's food service film. I've had that for years and years, and it just says so good. Okay, and I'm just going to lay this over the top. I'm not putting it, like I'm not putting it over where it's really tight or anything. But I'm going to lay that over the top. Then I'm going to put the tea towel back over the top. And the second rise will be for about 30 minutes, okay? After it rises, I'll be back. See you in a minute. Hello, everyone. We're back. We're back. Okay, I have my melted butter that I melted when I was on here before. And I'm just going to stir it up really good. And I have let the bread rise, a second rise. And I could have put the ones in the center closer in. Do you see that? Because they're not really touching and it might have risen a little higher. Don't know. But all the ones on the exterior rose great. They all rose, but they're not all touching. But if I'd done 18 instead of 15, everything would have been touching. So that's where the 18 comes in. So, all right, so let's put some butter on them. And I'm going to be careful when I do this. I don't want to mess that rise up. But I am going to butter them really well. And when they come back out of the oven, I'm going to butter them again. And Lexi and I will probably be in here to do a taste test at that point. Okay, and this is the easiest part because we're just going to pop them in a 400-degree oven for about, I think it took about 15 to 20 minutes until they're browned. And I'll show you, I'll time them when I have them in here. Okay, so I'm going to pop them in the oven. And we're going to have homemade yeast rolls shortly. Clean my oven, but I'm gonna wait till after Thanksgiving. Okay, I'll be back in a few. Bye. Oh my goodness, look what we have. the rolls. They're out. We baked them in our oven at 400 degrees for 15 minutes, okay? So your oven may be a little different. We're gonna slather some more butter on the top of them. And this, I use salted butter whenever I cook, so it's always salted butter. I only use real butter. I do not use margarine, ever. So even like if I find an old recipe I'm using and they call for margarine, I use butter. Now look how beautifully they rose again in the oven.
On some of this side.
Because you see they're all touching and they rose so pretty. Okay, so Lexi's gonna put a little more butter. She wants to make sure we get it all on the sides. Do you wanna try one, Lex? You wanna take one out?
Yes.
Okay. Let's try one. Because, oh my goodness, these are so good.
I'm ready.
We're having baked chicken. We're having baked chicken, green beans, carrots, and buttered rice for dinner. And we've just been waiting on the rolls. And rolls, of course. Lifts right. Oh, isn't that pretty? Look at that pretty roll. Okay, Lexi, you want to try it? You want extra butter on it or no? Okay, it's hot. So you're going to have to pinch it off probably.
Hot. Okay.
Here, put a little more butter on. It's hot. She's been waiting and waiting and waiting. Now it's hot. Okay, guys, that's it. That's how you do it. I'll put the recipe at the top of this. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope you make them for Thanksgiving. We'll see you soon. Actually, tomorrow. Bye.